going off, I know it's time to make a change, and I can take the pain. I'm gonna go down swinging.
Well, I always wanted to make a grand entrance, especially with my awesome guest, Barry Littleton. Put you guys in check for about 20 minutes. Sorry for the delay. Things happen on a live show. We had to fix the audio. Barry Littleton is with me. We got it all worked out. Thanks for everybody for hanging on. We have a great show in store for you tonight with Barry Littleton. We talk about everything on Beyond BMR. Welcome to everybody for coming on in, and thank you once again for your patience. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube. Subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, and Barry Littleton on YouTube. You can also find him on Patreon. Yes, and Barry Littleton's YouTube is simply Barry Littleton, at Barry Littleton on YouTube. Check him on out. You can find us also on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, wherever podcasts are found. Thank you in advance for that. If you like the content, like what we do around here, the super chat is open. Thank you. It's a great way to support what we do around here. Thank you ever so much for that. And also, you can become a BMR pirate. Arr! Join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view. How do you like that? Get a picture of me with my bandana next to yourself in the chat room. And also, coming out in the fall, members only shows. I'm going to start those for all you fabulous members, pirate members. I'll be doing some members only shows coming up in the fall. I haven't worked out how I'm going to do that. That's coming soon. Thank you so much. Check us out on YouTube. Of course, check out the About pages, of course, on YouTube. And before I bring up the fabulous Barry, I've got to thank all of you that have bought. Well, first of all, Bigfoot Mission Represents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1. It's been out for a little over a year. Thank you for those who have bought it. Thanks for you. Thanks for everybody who left a review. However, last month, I released a Bigfoot Mission Represents True Cryptid Encounters Book 2, found on Amazon. All you need to do is type Bigfoot Mystery Rob in your Amazon browser, and both books will pull up. Again, leave a review. Everybody, it's all analytics these days, much like YouTube. Like on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on the alert bells on YouTube, everybody. I'm done giving out the schedules. You know what the schedules are. I'm on Tuesday night, Thursday afternoon, and Saturday at midnight. You know that by now. Alert bell, alert bell, alert bell. Thank you so much. Super chats open. Pirate memberships are open. Subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Texas Front Porch, if not already. Our affiliates across the YouTube land. So I do thank you all for coming on in. Thank you, Mickey G, a member for 7 months. Amy, starting it out fabulous. Amy, thank you, Amy, so much for the super sticker. Nikki G, a member now for 7 months. Thank you ever so much for all that. I do appreciate that. And I appreciate my great guest. And I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to bring him up right now. Waiting for Barry to get ready. The great Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
What's up, man? You can
Hey,
hear me, right?
man. Yeah, we're 20 minutes. Hey, man, no worries, my friend. You're a buddy of mine. Things happen during live shows. And then after about 15 minutes, I'm thinking, I don't have a backup plan in case I got to go solo, because Krista, who normally joins me, is out. She's got the day off. So I started scrambling for an alternate subject matter. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to talk about, right? But it's happened before. But thank you that we got this straightened out, and I appreciate you coming on, Barry.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I think actually it's the subject matter is somewhat the reason why we were encountering those technical difficulties like that, because they're still, from my end, highly unexplained.
It is
no explanation for what just happened at all. So
yeah, I don't either. And you know what? And I know you have. Hey, man, Well, first of all, Barry, you have, as I mentioned, Barry Littleton found on YouTube, and you also have an awesome Patreon page. So everybody check out both those sites for Barry. And Barry, you actually, I saw the other day, you did your first live, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. You live shows, man.
You know, I got to tell you that that was interesting. I've never gone live before. I've had issues, reason why I've never wanted to. And then on top of that, I didn't expect to get nearly the positive response that I got. Overwhelming positive response. And I appreciate everybody that tuned in and chimed in. There's a lot of people in the chat, and it really, really blew me away to the point of being flabbergasted, to be honest. So,
Well,
you know,
me too. Yeah, I was. Well, I tell you what, I saw that, and you had a nice viewership. You had like almost. Hey Barry, I gotta tell you, you had like almost 300 likes on that live show, which is phenomenal.
wow.
So hats off to you, man.
Thanks, man. That's, you know, I've always just made videos, and that's kind of how I've decided that's like my YouTube channel stands as like kind of a library. The videos are short, but they're to the point. There's illustrations with them, and it's just for people that want to do their own research. And that's what that whole YouTube channel is for. But my friend that's edited all 400 of those videos with me he moved away to Tennessee. So about probably 6 weeks ago. So that puts an end to that. But so I've kind of moved and changing things a little bit, and whatever Spirit's kind of pushing me to do. And Spirit pushed me to do that because I was going to see that new movie Alien Romulus, and I just turned around because I kept getting go home and go live. So I did it. I don't argue Spirit anymore. But I'll tell you, it wasn't a bad move because that movie pretty much sucked. When I saw it yesterday, it wasn't. Oh man, it was.
Yeah, well, you know, I do like the Alien franchise. I do. The very first one, Sigourney Weaver, in all of them. The first one I think was Alien or Aliens. I think it was Alien. Fantastic. Well, I've seen them all, and I wanted to go see that, and now maybe I'll wait for it to come out for free on video.
I don't want to discourage you. I mean, go check it out. You might enjoy it. All I'll say is this, without really spoiling anything: don't go expecting to see a lot about the aliens. Go to see more about synthetic people and humans loving each other. That's kind of.
Well, and you know, I'll probably check it out. And I hear a little echo in the background with myself, but I don't know if your speaker's up a little loud. I don't know. But there was also another spin-off. It was called Prometheus. Remember the Prometheus series? Which was actually the origin of the original Alien film, from my gathering. And those were very thought-provoking, for sure.
Very, very what?
Thought-provoking, and it was nice to see how it blended into the actual Alien series that came out. So I did enjoy those. Kind of dry. It was more of a research type film. And I don't know if you have I don't know if your speakers are on high, Barry, because I'm hearing myself in the background.
No, they're not actually, unless you're hearing the echo from the fan.
No, I'm good now. No, well, I can still hear. Well, needless to say, we're fine. It's not hindering me at all. But you know, and so I talked to you maybe last month. I knew we were going to have you on this show, and I was trying to think about what to talk about. You and I, when we get together, we usually go off the rails. We go down all the rabbit holes, and so I was coming up with the topic, subject matter, and I'd sent you over earlier the subject, and you had said, "Thank you, JoJo, for the awesome super sticker. Thank you to Maggie. Thank you to Amy, and thank you to JoJo for starting out the show. Some awesome super chats and stickers. I really appreciate that." So you said, "Well, Rob, you know, we could talk about that, but you know, it's really very divided, somewhat controversial, and a lot of these things is emotional for you." And I certainly respect you and your emotions because I know that you've been to the other side, or at least you've had a life and death experience. And so I was thinking, I watched a video, your latest video and the live show, and then I was trying to incorporate this with like cryptids. So, however, that will be for the second half because In this first half, I want to get into this, the battle of light versus darkness a little bit, which is a preamble until maybe moving forward with how it affects the world of cryptids. And maybe it doesn't. I don't know. And so
That's cool.
I really kind of I tore into these really, and I came up with some questions for you. Some the thought provoking, and some maybe you don't want to answer, but we're buddies, and you just let me know. But the first,
I'm a bit deep in for that now, my
you've
friend.
been deep in. Well, we're deep in. We're into this right now, and I got to ask you, because I'm still a novice with that now. I do talk to you quite often about these things, and you've got quite a big clientele, and you do help people cross over, correct?
Yes, yes.
And we talked about this maybe 6 months ago, and then I came up and I kind of drive some of this from what you were talking about. Between crossing over to maybe heaven or hell, there's different frequencies, different vibrations, okay? And when one is crossing over, they say if you're going to the light, that's, I guess, the good side, and of course the dark side. And you had made mention of something where people that were monstrous in life that you've seen or maybe not seen that have been crossed over, when it's somebody that should be deemed as a person you would not expect to cross over to the side of light. And I know that you're passionate about this. Does that really happen, or is that some other realm that's trying to trick us into believing in something that's not happening?
Well, I've actually encountered that a few times, in
Yep.
the work that I do, and that's especially with earthbound spirits.
Mhm.
And when it gets to a point to where you have ones that are over there, and it's not, and I'm tempted to not use the words heaven and hell so much because
Gotcha.
these negative organic beings, these negative entities, they know our concepts of religion. So they get into our minds and they project these things at us, especially if you're in the state of an earthbound spirit that's still here, trapped here. So what, what I, how can I phrase this actually? That it's more that when you're dealing with the higher vibration, that you see that people see others over there that lived monstrous lives, and they feel that you would think that they didn't deserve to be in the higher frequencies. They should be more lower, or in someone that's punishment or purgatory or hell. It's somebody, for example, like, and then when I've come up against that in certain ways, is like when I started first doing some of the earlier ones, Earthbound releases. And when I say this, I'm talking about the ones that are inside the energy field, not ghosts that are on the outside that as a medium, I can detect. Anybody in your audience that's a medium can detect the ones on the outside and get some survival evidence from them, and then communicate the message to the person they're attached to. Okay, that's different. There's these other earthbounds that are inside the energy field, attached to a place of trauma. Organs store different traumas, are stored in different organs, not just from this lifetime, but other lifetimes. And they actually attach, just like the demonic attached to those areas of certain trauma. And for earthbound spirits, it's especially the areas that where they died, where that infliction where it was. They'll kind of attach to that area of trauma to that person, or where that manifests. And then that starts expressing itself in the person as negative behavior patterns. See, and I can't really detect them on the outside like you would the others. So it's completely different. And how to get to them and actually deal with them and their identities is another technique. Okay. But
Mhm.
anyway, when dealing with that, you have others, I had one that told me, one of the earlier ones, that say, I'm not going to go in that light because of a couple of reasons. One, I can't party in there anymore. And they were influencing people they were attached to get real wasted and tearing up their lives. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. And then also, I hurt somebody. I killed someone. And I think when I go in that light, I'm going to be punished. I think it's hell. I'm going to go in there and burn. And what does happen in that light is some type of a change. Now, look, I'm not a total expert. I can't tell you what it is, but some sort of a change happens. And I've seen all too often loved ones come back and help others cross. And that's just somebody like, for me, is like, as a medium, I can see the portal, the light there, and things before this Earthbound will even describe to me, will reveal fully itself. And I ask questions, bro. I ask, how did you die? Where you jumped the client at? Why'd you not go into the light? They'll tell you. They're quite chatty, a lot of them, because these aren't the demonic I'm talking about here. These are beings like, like you, your grandma, your grandpa. They couldn't let go of that crib. They couldn't let go of the land, or they couldn't leave you all, or there was substance abuse involved and they just can't cross. They don't cross, or they're scared, or they don't have the knowledge. And, we do have a type of amount of free will. We don't have to go on that light. But then you start getting what the others tell me when they don't go in. They say, I didn't go in, but then there's this darkness and nobody can hear me anymore. And I have to join with people to be heard or to feel again.
That's a great point. Free will. So let me ask you this. Do we have a choice at death?
What do you mean?
I mean is when we're seeing the light, do we have a choice to stay back and say to our creator, hey, listen, I want to be reincarnated, or I want to linger longer in the in-between? My time on earth hasn't been fulfilling enough yet. This is not about, really, I want to make this clear to everybody. It's not about religion, God, or the devil. This is just what I think about in the afterlife, because it's such a mystery.
Well, you're in good company, man. I do not have a religion. I don't prescribe to any religions, but there is the creator and source. But actually, upon passing, dying, if you get past the shock, there's a big shock when the body stops working. All right. And then you actually have the ability to not go into the light. I remember, it's interesting. I just got through talking to somebody who was working on a house near me here, and it's a blue festival in a city not far from where I live. Once a year they do. And there's a river there, and this earthbound spirit had described to me, to go into the river during this festival and partying real hard on the beach, and then getting on the raft and going out, get an argument with their boyfriend, and then go out on the raft, and kind of fell asleep out there. And they woke up and they could see their friends were out there trying to help somebody. There was some sort of emergency. So they jumped in and swam over there to try to help. And when they got there, it was their body as their friends trying to resuscitate her. She says, and then I said, I was shocked. I was so shocked no one could hear me. And then that light came. So I ran over in the field and squatted down. And after a while, it finally went out. I mean, we have the ability, and that's free will to not go in there. And I said, why not? So I was only 19. I'm only 19. I got cheated. I didn't get to finish college, yada, yada, and what goes through that. That's trauma. So that trauma and shock is enough to keep somebody held back. And the free will in that way is what I mean. Now, as far as the process, when you're going through death, and I can tell you this, what I've encountered from not even my own as much. Well, I had something happen to me too, but from going through these past life regressions. And there's several different modalities of it. One is informational. There's others that are life between lives, which are really interesting ones, I think. And that's the ones where you find that we take somebody back. They can describe to you not just youthful memories, ones that when they're in the womb also. They'll tell you what it's like in the womb, man. And, I ask a lot of questions, brother. Yep. I'm that person. If we're similar in age, you wouldn't want to go on field trips with me. I'd be asking a bunch of questions, especially if it's a science field trip. What's that? What's that? What's that? I'd be asking a bunch of questions, and I run away from the group, stall things, that kind of guy. So I ask questions during these regressions, a lot of them, straight up, man. And I say, well, you're in the womb. Can you move? A lot of people, yeah. It's not much, but it's like swimming a bit. I ask, what colors are you seeing? They'll tell you. And for example, I'll just throw one out, like this individual, they say, my parents argue a lot. And I have this older brother that I think doesn't really want me to be born. It's jealousy or something. So I'm going to leave until the argument's over and everything's settled down, and then I'll come back. And this is during the gestation period. So what do you think I do, brother? I ask, where do you go when you leave? They'll tell you. And, but the point is what I'll go to, sorry, I'm a little bit too off track, but
All right,
going through the death process, people will go back. They'll go to this place that I call, and I've talked about this a lot, so I'm sorry for those who've heard me talk about this before, the place of translation and reconfiguration. It's a place when it can be like, because during this process, one is the guide automatically shows up during this regression. I don't have to say, hey, Rob, when you're in theta almost, hey, Rob, are you seeing your guide yet? I don't have to say that. They just come.
Okay.
And they take the person to what can be this place of translation and reconfiguration. Can be like a library, office, where there are these ledgers and things. They'll pull out a ledger, and the ledger is the lifetime now. They go over their choices, their intent, and what they were here to work on. Okay, I've had others. It could be a pond, and they're sitting there by this beautiful pond, and the pond has this kind of undescribed light that's coming from it. Beautiful light, and these pictures start flowing out and going one way, the other way, and their life memories, and really the intent of their choices, but the intent of their choices in the relationships with people. That's what I went through too when I passed. I felt that a lot. Okay, it's what goes with us to the other side. So at that point, okay, then the person goes through that. Then they do this reconfiguration. This is incorporated into the soul matrix, and then they choose to where to reincarnate. Okay. Everyone I've done quite a few of them. Everyone now it's come to that, and I'll tell people, like I've always said, I say, hey, is the light making you reincarnate? No. Is your guide making you reincarnate? No. And they kind of already look like it's silly the way I'm even asking it. They seem like, and then and like, for example, this place of reconfiguration and translation reconfiguration that this client had that was by this pond, and I've had that one come up a few times, but this light coming in the memories and everything. And when that's done, they ask the guide, they're choosing where they could reincarnate. And they say, I really don't know yet. So they're asking the guide, and the guy says, if you can go wherever you want, you can stay here if you want to. You make up your mind. You can stay here forever if you want, but it might get real boring. So that's the person's choice. I have yet to encounter where it's been inflicted on somebody that's against the divine overself, the superconscious. It can't just be overpowered like what we're being told in the media and in these circles. See, what sells in these communities is negative agenda, negativity. People want to talk about that much more than anything positive, and the things that are like keeping us inhibited as conscious beings. Things like the negative self, negative identities, how much of our energy goes into that to keep us doubting ourselves, opposed to allowing ourselves as pure energy beings to expand. It's a real big deal. We're not told we can do that. And the fact that our own negative self can make these poltergeists that appear like demons coming at us, but it's our own thing, our own creation. So people don't want to hear that. It's too much responsibility.
So you might suggest that we create our own poltergeists.
Some of them, yeah. Now I'm not saying that they're not external inorganic beings and external dark forces. There's definitely that. But we've got a powerful enough negative self with negative identities that all they have to do is kind of pour fuel on the fire. The fire's already burning. And we get these negative identities through trauma.
Okay.
The decisions we make during trauma, they get us doubting ourselves and negative perceptions, negative thoughts. It's what they are. And they're really powerful, man. They hold us back during our life.
Yeah. Barry Littleton from Barry Littleton on YouTube, and check him out on Patreon. Let me ask you this. So I'm gathering a couple things here where, do you think it's important for perhaps a person of yourself or others to help minimize earthbound spirits? Do you believe that there's a lot of earthbound spirits trapped walking today that are living and are suffering?
Oh, definitely. And I could say this, I feel like I sound like a broken record, man, but it is what it is. Like, the
Well,
truth is truth. I can't get away from it.
Barry, you're never a broken record. I listen to the same things over and over again because there's always something that people miss out on. And certainly you've been on this channel, you've been on Justin Jones' show, you got your own channel. So on this show, it's a different audience, and a lot of the people haven't heard you. And for me, it's just refreshing and something new and something that people need to hear.
Oh, right. I can't argue that at all. Sorry. So what was your last question again? I'm sorry, man.
Do earthbound spirits suffer, and do you think there's too many existing right now?
Yeah. Man. Yeah. No, sorry, I got you now. Yeah, man. I believe they are. Sorry about that. I believe they are. Man, I know that the earthbound population is just as numerous as the living. It's really close on ratio wise. If it's the lady with the scales, I mean, it's almost balanced. I promise you that. Things like, I have an example, one that I had done. This has been a couple of years ago now, but this earthbound, it's always interesting because the person they'll start talking like this earthbound, and the inflections that start coming out are completely different. And this was a black woman, a sister that was real hard into the church, one of the sisters that could, hey, and everybody pay attention, one of them. And she was real cool in that way, but she kept saying that, she joined with this client. This client knew how to protect themselves. They're spiritually aware, but they went to the hospital for an operation, a little bit long operation, difficult. And this earthbound joined with them during the operation.
Okay.
And she kept saying, she said twice to me, there were others trying to join with her, but they weren't strong enough, but I was. And I got to get home, yada, yada, yada. And she's talking about that. She's given inflections that are like early 70s, almost late 60s, the inflections she's given. But I get her to cross over, okay? And when it's over, but just before she goes, I said, oh, yeah, hey, by the way, you said there are others trying to join, and this is in the hospital, to join. How many? I think what she said was it's somewhere between 34 and 50, something like that. That's what she said, and then she crossed on. So that's in a hospital room. You've got around 50 earthbound spirits trying to jump somebody. And the amount of time that I hear that the incubator room, and that's not even fair. You have a client, and I'm working with them, and I ask them when the earthbound joined with them, and they'd say in the incubator room. And this is somebody I'm working with that is, like 40 years old, man. That means that thing's always been with them, influencing them. And in the case that you have, like, let's say a male baby there and an old lady jumps in them and they grow up in the incubator room, does that kind of, one of the reasons, I'm not saying the only reason, but one of the reasons you wind up having like a Caitlyn Jenner. When I was watching my first box of Wheaties, and Bruce Jenner's up there like that, and then he was on Chips trying to be one of the highway patrols with Erica Estrada. He must have been. He was all the time saying, "Hey, that was Caitlyn. That wasn't really Bruce. It was Caitlyn." So the whole time that's how he'd be feeling. And is the earthbound spirit, is that one of the reasons that occurs? I'm not saying it's the only one, but is it one of them? I think it needs to be taken into account. So okay, so that answers your question as far as. The earthbound spirit population is huge, and doing the work on helping them to transition and cross over is serious imperative work, because some of these are people, that are just not just good people. And a lot of them, you'd be surprised, they cross over fairly easy. Not all of them, but as statistically, a lot easier than what you would think. A lot of them have wanted somebody to talk to, depending on what the various things it is that kept them earthbound. You know what I mean? And these things, and when I approach it, I don't approach it as Max von Sydow, bro. The exorcist. That's not how I approach this. It's not the demonic I'm working with here. It's earthbound. It's CPT, cognitive behavioral, works really good, even better with earthbounds than it does with the human, with the living. Excuse me. No, anyway, man, sorry. Hopefully, that's a very long-winded explanation for your question, but hopefully that answers it.
No, I mean, it's a great answer. And, again, it's such a fascinating subject, and there's so much to digest in it, because let's face it, and you have, from your experience, I don't know that you want to get into that too much. Somebody had asked in chat, has Barry passed on? Has he experienced this? So I said, well, yeah, you had an experience with, NDE, they call it, correct? What
Yeah.
do and I guess, what was that? I mean, if you don't
you,
mind,
you
what
know,
was
you,
that
you,
like briefly?
I'll say this, it's odd because in some ways what happened had ruined my life, but until I had fully recovered. But it also, if it wasn't for that, I would never have been coming forward speaking. I always said I was going to come forward and speak one day, but man, that was just talk.
Yeah,
None of this is really conducive to careers. Definitely, it doesn't pay anything. So I mean, it's pointless in that way. But I got put in a position to where I got exposed. What happened in 2010? I was actually on my way to work, and I had a really bad car accident. And I had a little 2002 Trans Am, Firebird Trans Am, and I, with my high IQ, I was only a few blocks from my house. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and I went through half of the windows in there. Okay, and I sustained, including the T-tops. So I sustained 4 catastrophic traumatic brain injuries. I died on the way to the hospital twice, and they brought me back and incubated me. And then I was in a coma for about 2.5 weeks. And after that, when I woke up, it took about 3.5 weeks to remember who I was. And when I say that, people say, I came and saw you though, and you seemed like you were punch drunk, but it was you. I was like, no, I was an actor. I was from a gifted actor is what that was. I was scrambled eggs, man, but I
yeah,
had what's called a clearing out where I remembered everything. Okay. How to do math and all that type of stuff came back. And, and I could remember the angelics that I saw when I passed. What happened? I saw these, I would call them this Uranta book, this book right here. I've got issues with this book, but when it talks about the angelic, the seraphim, the angelic order of the universes, the super universes, and Earth, Uranta means Earth, so the Earth book. But when they talk about the different type of angels and the classifications, it gets really deep. And they have
okay,
one classification they call super nanophim, SUPERNAPHIM, nanophim, and it's a
okay,
type of like archangel, but it's different. It's a different function to a degree, but that type of level. I saw these and experienced these when whatever happened to me, okay? And when I woke up, even before I remembered who I was, I could still see them in my mind's eye and feel them even though they weren't present, all right? And when I say these angelics, they weren't physical beings. These were like hundreds of strands of light, okay, surrounded by these, look like shields to me. And outside of that, it looked like steam coming outside of them. And I can tell you that they gave me enough, and they felt like pure love, okay? And when I
okay,
woke up, remember who I was, I had to compare these beings from what I had been having experiences my whole life. This accident happened when I was 36. That has nothing to do with the experiences of what I had a lifetime before that, okay? Especially the childhood ones. So but I had to try to kind of compare this to some of these non-corporeal beings on board these craft I've encountered that can make you feel blissed out when you're around them. When you get really, I'm keeping it 100 here, all right? When you really get in the biofield, in the presence of a non-human, even if it's one that appears to be humanoid, but they're not from this biosphere, this dimension, whatever it is, okay? Some of them have this biofield that can kind of bliss you out and makes you feel like what the gurus called Shakti Pat. And Shakti Pat is when the guru touches the apprentice and it releases a Kundalini release and the chakras start turning. It feels like a type of enlightenment. So some apprentices go, years hoping they get Shakti Pat from the guru. Or if it was Carlos Castaneda, we could talk about he would Don Juan would slap him in the middle of the back and push him into heightened awareness. So, just food for thought. All right.
Well,
But
you always say food for thought, but what about this? You
food for
mentioned
thought, yeah.
earlier about our life memories. Do you think that false memories come into play with a lot of this? Because I've heard that when it comes to alien abduction, and I know that you delve into this subject. A lot of alien abduction where people have loss of time, and then they're trying to remember. Now, of course, maybe regression therapy comes into play here, but when somebody has a false memory, does that kind of put a monkey wrench in this whole crossing over thing? Is it confusing for the person that's waiting to cross?
You know, in terms of, I think the problem that we have right now is that we have technologies that are directed at people, and they're especially directed at people that are close to the NDE state, close to that theta state.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's somehow projecting a false light. And this is where a lot of this soul traps, excuse me, soul traps and this imprisonment thing comes from. So I believe that is something, technology is being done here through the human brain, okay, to try to control factions of our soul, because it's really the brain takes pictures, and it's the soul, it's the spirit that gives feelings, all right, and it produces the feelings. So I believe that that's what they're trying to do, and trying to trap people in that way. But that can't interfere with the actually divine overself. And going back to, you mentioned in there, you kind of threw in there screen memories and regressions. Okay, now as far as I myself suffered from I have what I call adult childhood experiences, then adult onset experiences. Because I say between about 12 and a half to about 17, my experiences kind of stopped. They changed. And after that, they got real physical again. And I had 4 times of missing time, and each one of them averaging over 4 hours. And 3 of them, somebody else was with me, they're missing time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I grew up in the air capital of the world, because everything came out of there. Boeing, Beechcraft, Learjet, everything. That's where I grew up. And there was a huge Air Force base just on the east side of town. Okay. So I went through, because after the event horizon of these experiences, and they were extremely positive, and the elation that came afterwards was intense. But when you're not in that vibration, you're not in the presence of some of these beings, it starts, the further you get from the event horizon, the more the memories start kind of dissipating. By the end, by the time we're trying to get back to town to write the stuff down and record it, we're starting to look at each other going, what happened fully? And half of the stuff is gone. So I tripped out, man. And then a few years later, it goes on, around 96, I started reading, I came across Dr. Carla Turner, and she was talking about virtual reality scenario technology and stuff like that. And I've been experiencing one of these experiences. They had warned me about virtual reality stuff. And then she's talking about that, you know, and the horrible stuff that happened to her and others. I started tripping. Oh, maybe it wasn't positive. Maybe they wiped my mind. So I learned about hypnosis and screen memories and stuff like that, which is quite common. That wasn't what I was suffering from, but that's quite common. I've had, during regressions, I've had things throw screen memories during regressions. I mean, for other people. I know how to break through them, how to actually identify them, but they'll throw these screen memories. You know, for example, I dealt with somebody who was involved with that. Oh man, it's a gifted program. They call it something, and they were taking these kids at testing them, and then taking them to this Air Force base. And when they take them to the Air Force base, this big thing was they had to count these jelly beans in the jar. And repeatedly, the person keeps coming back to these jelly beans, this jelly bean exercise. I caught up real quick. There was a screen memory, and I broke through it and what was really going on, what they were really doing. You know, so that's an example right there. So screen memories could be given during that time of the abduction or experience, but also during the regression. And when you're actually in the presence of some of these non-humans, these beings, they don't all need technology to project false environments to you. What people call jump rooms and other things. Some of them do it through the optical nerves. Okay. They're in a different level of consciousness and vibration. It's a different thing going on. And it puts us at a serious disadvantage when you're in the presence of something through your optical nerves can project a false environment to you that you can't tell isn't legit. Just throwing these things out, because I emphasize positive contact a lot, but I'm very aware of the negative. And I went through a lot to make sure that it did that or did not happen to me. So that's why when people try to say, oh, you were part of the SSP. No, I was not. My experiences weren't like that. You're part of DARPA. No, I was not. I remember you. No, you do not. We see they'll try to project that to you and want you to be part of that, because right now, these fields in the community, the negative sells. People don't want to hear about positive encounters. They don't want to hear about this right here, what Ray Hernandez has done with the free organization, CCRI. And I throw this book up because we can talk about this and the mind wiping that happens when you go through death. What does happen? Why do we reincarnate here devoid of soul life memories when we're immortal souls?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you've got these people saying, oh, you've got somebody that remote viewed and said, oh, it's a trap, it's a trap. They start spreading that. There were certain people trapping that, spreading that, and that must be this trap. And that's what the light is, it's a trap. No, it's part of the process. And when you look at this book right here, this Mind of God is what it's called, by Ray Hernandez and the CCRI Foundation. You've got these academics talking about that. You've also got it going into philosophy as well, and what they're getting from the research that they did, the data. And during the process, when you actually pass, okay, and I've tried to really figure out if it's a place of translation, reconfiguration, where it's like this mind of God, this repository you go back that takes your life memories. And then you choose to reincarnate, but you go to the next incarnation, especially it's here, devoid of a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that's so you can learn again as an immortal soul. You know, and real quick before I shut up, because I'm probably getting too excited, but I mentioned this on somebody else's show the other day, and it wasn't Jessica's, it was somebody else's, but it was the Mind of God. I did a video called The Mind of God and the Eagle. It's one of the last ones I put out. And what I did is compared that to the work of Carlos Castaneda, which I think you're familiar with. Yeah. And he had in the book, The Eagle's Gift, about halfway through his series, The Eagle's Gift, he talked about what Juan Mattis, his teacher, told him, that the universe was shaped like an eagle, a giant eagle, the cosmos. And that when we pass, we go through the beak of the eagle. And the beak is what wipes our soul life memories. So they had a technique that's called recapitulation, which is actually reliving every interaction, every memory that you've had during your life, and bringing the energy back to it through a head movement and also pranayama type breathing. Okay. And this recapitulation is not just to solidify your luminous cocoon, but when the death force comes, we go through the beak of the eagle, or we return to this repository, as Ray and his team calls it, okay, repository of God, the Mind of God. It takes the recapitulation, it takes the recap, and leaves our soul life memories intact. And when you incarnate the next time, you incarnate with soul life memories intact. See, but that's one of these techniques that these people telling people to don't go in the light aren't giving you what I just told you there.
Okay.
They say don't go in there, it's a trap, this and that, but they can't tell you what the hell to do when you don't go into it. Okay, I've heard some things, go around the light and then just wait, go into the darkness because it's melanin. And I'm all down with melanin, but this dark, not the same darkness they're talking about there. It's not the darkness, certainly not skin pigmentation. Okay, it's not the same. And what that does is, that and then wait, and let's wait for a sound. And then you follow the sound because that's the sound of your soul. Why don't you ask an earthbound spirit to try that, if they tried that, if that works?
Well,
screwed up, man.
It is screwed up.
Yeah. So just I'm giving that, that last video, that live I did, somebody wanted to spout off at me. Oh, there are ways to get earthbounds to get out of here without the light, yada yada. I actually responded. I said, hey, how? Where do you know this from? How did you do it? And if you cross over earthbound spirits, how you do it without light? I want to know. Tell me about the technique. You should be able to refer it to me in ancient texts too. Don't just give me what somebody said, some institute of people that could be remote viewers that could be influenced by dark entities. That's not what I want to hear. Okay, that's other people's stuff. I want to hear technique. I want to see data. So when people come at me with this, don't go in the light stuff, I ask 3 criteria if I don't get too hyped, because it's serious, because I've seen the suffering of earthbound spirits and also clients that have them attached. My criteria is number 1, have you had a near-death experience yourself in this body? Number 2, are you a medium? Can you detect earthbound spirits and ghosts outside the energy field inside. Do you even know what the hell that is? Number 3, do you have a population of earthbound spirits that you've worked with and crossed over or done anything with? Let's hear about it. See, those 3 criteria are important. If not, you're just talking. It's other people's stuff that you've heard. And there's a big war against the light right now. There is a war against the light. If you're not going for the light, it's with the dark.
Right.
You know, it's cracking on Jessica's show. You know, I used to hear when I was younger, everybody, oh, at night, all cats are gray. No, they're not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's positive
Yeah.
or negative. And the
Yeah.
people that are going against that, and you listen to some of these people that talk about not going to light, they get really upset when they start talking about it. They're mad at the light. You know, and, you know, so whatever happens, I've seen individuals, like I said, go into this light and come back and help loved ones. And they come back with an angelic, makes them like cherubim, and they're helping. And then they're gone again. They're not trapped here. So something's different. Sorry, I'm done now, man.
No, man. Well, no, you're fine, Barry. You're fine. Before I forget, Maggie M10, thanks, Maggie, for the super chat. She had a question regarding what is the purpose of trapping souls?
Well, one is they're producing that psychokinetic energy. And, you know, like for those that are like some of the earthbounds have told me that, you know, it was a little disturbing at first, but I would hear, you know, I heard about you. I heard about you. And they tell the clients in their minds through these voices, don't work with him. He's bad. He's bad. And they say, when they say, I heard about you and I heard you were bad. And I earthbound, why? The others, who told you that? The others that left this body and said they'll be back when you're gone. That's why doing those protections is a very, very serious and important, you know. And then they say other things as earthbounds, like you know, you don't have any love left. Nobody loves you. That's why you're stuck. You don't have any light anymore, and you need to start hurting people.
Okay.
And joining with people and tormenting them. And they tell their voices in the earthbound spirits' voice in their head, and their whatever it is, their conceptual cognitive ability also. And, you know, and then they start saying, you know, and then they told me if I didn't, I'll go to the pit. I'll be punished. I said, what pit? And they can't never really tell me. They don't know, but they say it's supposed to be darker than what I'm experiencing now. And it's painful.
I'm going to tell you, I'm not doing it now. I'm going to talk about something with you that I did want to ask you about personally, but we might do it on this show. Just remind me about the pit. I've got to ask you something, though, and that's kind of towards dreams and reality with dreams. But let me ask you, is it possible on the nefarious side, let's say, whatever you want to use, whatever terminology people want to listen to, is it possible for souls to be cloned?
What an interesting question. What an interesting question. You know, there's something called tube resurrection technology. And it's something that Linda Moulton Howe wrote about in that, I think it was her Glimpse of Reality 2. And there's a couple of experiencers that experienced that. And I've had some other people talk about this too. And what that is a technology that's used by the mantids, and they actually try to use that to attract an immortal soul and put that soul into a clone body. Now what's interesting, this is coming up again. I had a regression with an individual that actually I met at one of the conferences. And they, what they come to me for is they're having night terrors, that their spouse was having to wake them up because they're having these horrible night terrors. And they couldn't explain why. It was this certain feeling they had. And I started picking up to do this regression when they wanted to work. So we did this regression. And what winds up happening, okay, is as a youth, they were getting abducted basically from their bed. It started off physical ones. And what they did was took an AI system took sperm from them. And then on the side of this room is this window, and these quote unquote doctors looking at them, these military doctors, but it was completely off. screen memory. Go through that. Okay, you've got 5 beings standing over there, and you've got one of them's an octopus type being, one of them's a dog man that looks similar to a German Shepherd with his ears down. Okay, you've got an eagle type looking being, a bird being. All right, and I mean this is where he's, and a reptilian, a tall reptilian too.
Okay.
And what they're doing is using the sperm. Each one of them is from a different density, dimension, whatever it is. Okay, and what they're doing is using the sperm to create clones of this individual, hybrid clones on each one of their civilizations. And what's giving this individual these night terrors is that after the physical abductions,
really quickly, Susan Dahl asked for the purpose of what you're talking on. What are night terrors, briefly, Barry? If you can.
Oh, no problem. Sorry. That's like they're also called incubus attacks, which is like real severe nightmares, like to the ones that have you like night sweats and that type of a deal, to where it goes more into being horrific and terror. So they call it night terrors. A little worse than like, it's like puts it like a nightmare times 3. You know what I mean? That type of a deal.
Got you. Okay.
Cool. So what's given the individual these incubus attack night terrors is that after the physical attack stopped, they're actually trying to then, and it says a lot about the bilocation, which means they're pulling his energy body, his dream body, out of his physical body and bringing that towards the craft, levitating it up to the stasis beam, stasis field. But what they're doing is moving the craft further and further out to see how far they can get his energy body, his dream body, astral body away from the physical before it snapped back from self-preservation. Okay. So they're testing that, and that's what was giving this individual night terrors, was the feeling of that separation getting worse and worse. Okay. And what they were trying to do was fracture his soul so they could deposit these fractured parts in these clone bodies in these different dimensions. And they weren't able to do it. All right. And I'll say this again. So this is done to me. What I just told you, to me, sounds just horrible.
Yeah.
And not the type of encounters I had, definitely.
Right.
And when it's over, before I merged them and everything, I asked, hey, so, what do you consider this a really negative experience? Yada, yada. I just assume they say yes. And he said, oh, no. You don't consider this negative. Why? And they say, well, it's because these beings, each of these beings, wherever they're all from, they're different, and they can love, but they can't love like we do. They can barely love like the way earth animals do. It's not even like that for them. And they want to learn to love like we do. And they also want to know why, when we die, we go back to God and they don't.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so they're trying to evolve their species to where they can be like us. And, and it shocked me. I get flabbergasted. I don't care how many of these I do, Rob. I get flabbergasted on a lot of them. I just be tripped out, because I have to just accept it. I can't denominate what's happening. It is what it is, what the soul is saying, what the client is saying, and so that way they're trying. It says, but that says a lot about humanity. Are we really the low peasants that we think? Don't think so. So we're led to believe that because we've been deprived of all of our personal power. And so much demonic and negativity works. I hear so much about the reptilians and things like that. Man, you got to watch the people just like you and me that incarnated here. And there's something else, man. They can't even love, Rob. I know you've met these people. How many times you were a bartender for a long time? I know you had some people come in there that weren't ghosts, that were corporeal people, that you just something wrong with them, man. They can't feel. They can't love.
There are
wrong.
Many people, especially in the bar industry, 13 years. And even though I was the owner, I was hands-on. I bartended quite often because I enjoyed the people. I'm a people person. But let me tell you something. There's some characters who walked in that I had to. This is prior to me getting involved with any of this, where I could have swore they looked like an alien hybrid human being,
Mm-hmm.
where they just had a nondescript look, pale skin, slanted, small little eyes, and you can't make out a nationality on these people. I mean, their skin color was pale, but the way they presented themselves and the way they spoke to me was as odd as the day is long. If the day was 36 hours long, that'd be odd. Much like some of these people. And I came across that with this one guy all the time for about 3 months. Didn't speak with anybody. He just came in and he was asked me the strangest questions. Are you the patron of this facility? Yes. Do you know that you're promoting evil? And I'm like, dude, you've been here for 2 months in a row drinking. Yet you come here and tell me this rhetoric. You don't know where
Well,
I've
did
been.
he come alone or was he accompanied by somebody else?
Always alone. Always
Really?
alone.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Always dressed in dark clothing. Always sported some sort of hat. No, not the Men in Black. Just dark clothing, dark ball cap. But his skin was pale. His hands, his fingers were pale, and his fingers seemed longer than a normal person, and just carried himself very odd. And let me tell you something. He was coming in there for 2 months, and he sat at one end of the bar. I had a square bar, always at one corner. And after about 2 months, certain patrons of the bar said, "Who?" They all got the chills from this guy, and they thought he was creepy. In fact, one guy says, one customer told me, Rob, I've sat next to this guy several occasions in the summertime. And when he sat next to him, he was always cold sitting by this guy. And let me tell you something, Barry. On the occasions that I did speak with him, because I found him fascinating, thinking back, he was cool. The area, the atmosphere around him was cool. I could move 3 feet to my right, and all of a sudden I'm hot. We're talking about the middle of summer. You know, I got fans going, blowing warm air, of course. You know, it didn't matter if the air conditioning was on, because when you've got, 150 people or 75 to 100 people in a bar on a weekend. But it was odd that nobody gathered around this guy. They kept their distance for a couple months, and then he just stopped coming in. I
Just
could never,
disappeared.
yeah,
I bet, and didn't know where he worked or anything. He just kind of showed up. One of those people, right?
yeah, no, because I had a lot of business with a lot of people working at the auto industry, and I would always ask somebody, "You work in the up the road at the Ford Motor Company?" Nope. What do you do for a living? I just survive. I'm a survivor type. Really nondescript, blasé answers. Where he's hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
But he gave me
You know,
that vibe that he wasn't one of us.
you've got a few things to go on. One is, you've got what they call also, God, what is they used to call them? But then now they're starting to call them NPCs, non-playable characters. And then you've got also those that are like inorganic beings that can almost assume humanoid type of form. But in this case right here, I think you're talking about somebody, they talk when you start dealing with these individuals that deal with these hybrid babies and stuff, they talk about how many of them are supposed to be here
Oh
blended into
boy,
the
Barry,
population.
got a story for you. Keep going though.
And
Keep
yeah,
going.
so I mean, and you've got these others, like you've got the ones that I call the charters, but that's different. Every 7 years, lifetime contactees tend to meet one. But this one right here, you're talking about, to me, sounds like it's a bad feeling from it. It's a drinking alcohol, so that implies, that there could be a dark type of facet to it also.
Yeah.
And the cold body language thing, that's a vibration thing, man.
Yeah, man.
And you've also got these individuals that come from the inner earth and walk around here from these
I,
caverns, these.
well, I gotta tell you, there's so much we can dissect on this, and I have to tell you something because you brought it up about these hybrid alien babies. Okay, I spoke with this woman ad nauseum. In fact, her story was so fascinating that it's in my second book. Okay.
Mhm.
again, wants to be in anonymity. Hey, Rob, I got to talk to you. I've been watching your show. You don't talk a lot about alien and hybrid children. I'm like, well, no, I don't. So we were emailing. Then I finally said, look, you're sending me this information. Can we talk on the phone? So we had nauseum talked on the phone, Barry. When she was 5 or 6 years old, she started having these nightmares. And these nightmares always encompassed her being in a room, a bright white room with, as she describes, 4 alien beings. She says, Rob, like the Greys. And there was always one with a tool or some contraption in his hand, but never did anything with it. And so I would have these nightmares all the time. And I'd always go to mom and dad crying about I'm somewhere I don't know where I'm at. I guess I'm dreaming, mommy and daddy, but there's these aliens in this room. Mom and dad, again, as parents do, you're just having nightmares. But these went on and on. They went on and on and on until now she is puberty. She turns 13. Now she's again in the dark in this room with the light white. And again, the 4 aliens, Barry. But now the instrumentation that I mentioned earlier when she was a younger child, the instrumentation she can tell is being used at her lower body in her female area. This went on from 13 up until, like she says, 18 or 19. These dreams, these very vivid dreams. She started going to the doctor. She went to a psychiatrist. She got divorced because her husband couldn't take these stories anymore. Her 2 beautiful daughters stopped talking to her. This went on and on and on. Continually. She thought she was going nuts. She lost several jobs. I'm listening to this poor woman. Rob, finally, as I tell you about these dreams, and she goes, she felt now that the white walls and the aliens, she feels now she was being abducted onto a craft, and she thinks that they were experimenting on her. And then, right about the age of 23 years old, she reached to the back of her neck and she felt 4 nodes or 4 nodules. And she doesn't know what they are. She gets very concerned. She goes to the doctor. She have x-rays performed. And doctor says, well, it's not cancer, but it's a growth of some sort. Not to worry, but we can't pinpoint what this really is. It's the strange anomalous growth, which certainly didn't give her any comfort, right? So one night, as she's laying in her bed, this time instead of having the dream of being on this craft with these 4 alien types in the white walls of the room, an alien gray is at the edge of her bed while she's up. Telepathically, it communicates to her. We are done with you. We're going to take you one last time and give you the answers you seek. That's what this woman's telling me, Bear. How am I going to fall asleep? She's thinking I just got visited in my room by an alien gray. Well, the alien gray, whatever, she fell asleep. Now she wakes up. She's on the craft. The same alien that visited her in her room telepathically again communicates, we are done with you. We cannot use you anymore. But we will tell you this. We've been using you for human hybrid alien children. And I know you went to the doctor to have your 4 nodes or nodules looked at. Those represent 6. You have 6, they told her. Those 6 represent 6 of your children. Okay? That we have taken from you. And they said one day you will meet one of your children because the 5 of the 6 we discarded. had no use for them. 1 out of 6 made it or passed whatever their standards were. Well, this poor woman now wakes up in her bed crying, thinks she's going crazy, nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to turn. A year goes by. No answers. She can barely hold any job. She can't hold down a job as a waitress at a diner, man. Her parents, her husband does not want anything to do with her. Her 2 daughters, nothing to do with her. She was in a restaurant about a year later, and she's wondering about this. What they said, you'll meet your child or whatever. One of the 6 you'll come across. She's at a restaurant. She looks across the room of the restaurant and sees a young lady that she swears could have looked and been one of her daughters, very similar to her 2 now daughters that no longer speak with her. But she says she was very beautiful, but very pristine, blonde hair, blue eyes, and the skin was just sculpted skin, ivory white skin, beautiful, something that doesn't look real. She's thinking in her head, if I finally come across a hybrid alien, now she's thinking that these things have been happening to her in real time. This young woman gets up. She says she's in her early 20s. She gets up, walks to the bathroom. Well, this woman follows her to the bathroom. Walks in the bathroom. At this point, there's nobody in the restroom, for the female restroom. And this young lady goes in to a stall, shuts the door, do her business, I guess. Couple minutes go by, and she's like waiting. A couple other customers come in, use the facilities, and she's just waiting. She's 3, 4, 5 minutes go by. She says, man, she's just apprehensive, right? She goes to the stall and looks underneath the stall. Doesn't see feet sitting down, doesn't see anything. She's reluctant. She pushes open the door, and it's empty. Nothing, no one's in there. And she's like, what is going on? So she leaves the restroom, goes back to where she was having dinner, looks to the table where this young lady was. She's not there. In fact, it's a new place setting, like nobody was even sitting there. She goes out in the parking lot, looking around, looking at people's cars. She's frantic. She knows something real happened. She now knows she wasn't dreaming and had these hallucinations. She now knows in her heart of hearts she had an encounter. She knows she was abducted. She knows that this person was her hybrid child. Later in the evening, she goes home, falls asleep. Gets paid to visit by this alien. We're taking you up tonight for the last time. Puts her in a trance, and this is again all telepathic. This young woman falls asleep, wakes up on the craft. Same 4 aliens. The one alien that used the device on her telepathically again says, you're going to meet your child. And then all of a sudden, here comes her child, alleged child, but it was the woman she saw in the restaurant, beautiful, pristine, porcelain skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, comes up to the mom, and she's like in a chair. These other dreams, she was always laying flat on her back on a gurney. This one, she's in a different position. She's sitting upright. Now, not telepathically, Barry and everyone listening, she speaks, verbalizes, oracally. You're my mother. I'm your hybrid child. I'm one of the 6 that made it. You'll never see me again, but you needed to know I exist. She wakes up the next day, or that night, I guess, or whenever it was, and says, Rob, I do believe that I have a child out there not from this world. And her life still today, unfortunately, she's not doing well mentally, physically. and I talked to her actually, and I did this story. I talked to her over a year ago, and she every once in a while we kind of speak to see how she's doing, Barry, and she just is waiting to see her child again. In fact, she's to the point where she has no life here on Earth. She'd rather she just go with the aliens. So that's the story that I've gotten. I put that in the book 2. And Barry, when you talk about alien abduction, we've heard these stories. The most popular, Tim Walton, who I guess, or what I think it's Tim Walton or something Walton, and how his life after he came out with that blockbuster story years ago, how it disheveled his life and so on. Sure, he's been on some shows, some podcasts, but his life's upside down. I feel for this woman, man, and let me ask you, man, what's your take on that whole scenario?
Heard it a lot, man. To be honest, it's kind of somewhat common. I want to say honestly. Um, when I spoke in Vegas, was about 8 months ago now. I was on a couple panels there. One of them, the one that was run by Alexis Brooks. I had sitting on the left of me was a lady named Geraldine Orzacco, that probably a lot of people know. And on the other side with this lady, boy, she kept cracking me up too. Because the one guy kept talking about the Venetians weren't allowing any more negative encounters to happen, abductions to happen. And she started going, oh, but both of them were hybrid mothers. And they said they had several hybrids. I've talked to other people and had some clients that happens. You know, it's some sort of a genetic thing going on with these grays and some types of them. And I think it could be, you know, that some types of these grays are not just Zeta Reticuli, but it's true. They're from our future, where there's some sort of, or from the past, like the Hopis say, where there's some sort of a cataclysm and genetics of the human race are not the same. Once we have to go underground because of the cataclysms, and after generations, we start having these mutations that are more insectoid in nature, and that's supposed to be the grays. Now, I've heard a bunch of different reasons for it, but I don't discount that one at all. What is the reason for this hybrid deal? Is it only Zeta Reticuli and the Betty Barty and then talked about, are they the only ones that are compatible with this, or this something that has more to do with the human genome? And, you know, that takes us into also some of these high energy plasma spears that are seen making crop circles.
Yeah.
I've heard for years that those are actually time travelers, those high energy plasma balls.
Okay.
And that there's are actually marking points too for entry and exit points for these time travelers that are from the future when we evolve consciously beyond these containers. And the container for consciousness we have is a different one. And it becomes high energy plasma type. Food for thought again, you know what I mean? And I will say this, when I gave as a blind target to Jessica Jones to remote view, it was this certain crop circle in Wiltshire, the ones where you can see the plasma balls actually making it. And there's like 3 of them. One of them goes up and they all go up, and it's really pretty incredible. And so I gave that to her as a blind target. And I can say out of all the targets I've given her, she's gotten emotional on a few of them, but that one I think she got the most emotional.
Okay.
And it was not a negative outcome of the data. What it was these plasma balls coming from close to source and telling humanity not to give up. And it was a positive deal going on there. So, you know, that has to be thought, as well as she picked up that there are other ones that are making negative crop circles. Have you talked to the people who actually spent a lot of times in the circles? They'll describe what it's like to go into one that's it's not even that's a negative one, it's not even that's man-made, but that it's actually makes them sick and things. But when you look at the other crop circles, the positive ones, and what was discovered by Dr. Livingood concerning them helping with there's something that the bent stalks are exposed to that's called an electron avalanche. And the electron avalanche comes from that high energy plasma in the microwaves that it's exposed to. And what that does is allow those seeds that are genetic snapped to actually produce like 3 times the crop as the other plants do. So what that's doing is it's showing us in a way to help to combat food shortage is one of the things we're being shown there. You know, as well as some of these crop circles themselves appear to be free energy devices. It's just things like that we need to be aware of when we hear these people saying, you know, we don't get any help here.
Yeah.
There's extraterrestrials, yada yada. We don't get any type of help. There is help. It's just subtle, and it's not the help that people want for beings to come in and help us save us from ourselves.
Yeah. I think that's a whole nother topic for us to talk about in another show with are these other world entities really here to save the planet, save our resources, use our resources? Because I think there's some I can't say the word. I think a lot of it's legitimate. I can't say the other longer version. I think it's legitimate. I think there's some substance to that. But really quickly before I got to move on because I need your take on something really quickly. But before I do that, thank you to Amy for the super sticker. Mickey G, a BMR pirate member for 7 months. Thank you so much, Mickey. Maggie M10 super sticker. Jojo, your super sticker. Thank you so much for the love, the support. Super chat stickers are appreciated, not expected. BMR piracy, becoming a pirate, that is not expected either. Thank you. Appreciate and love all you guys. Thanks for coming in. And thank you to we got 60 people in the chat we've had in and out tonight. We've got another 411 listening live on all the other platforms that I'm on and YouTube. And just because you're not in the chat room does not mean that I don't appreciate you. And I always have to remember to say, yes, I love the people in the chat, but the people that drive the views are you sitting at home listening right now. So 400 people listening live right now, Barry, and that's a fantastic, great show we've got going
Very
on.
cool.
So thank you, Barry,
Very
man.
cool.
It's awesome.
My pleasure. I can't take any credit for that, but it's nice.
Well, you know, Barry, they love
booed
their.
me out of the chat yet, have they?
Yeah, they love you, Barry. You know, a lot of other shows going on tonight. A lot of competition out there tonight, but it is what it is. Great show. I always love having you on. I got a question, and then I've got to tell you something that I want to talk to you more at a more personal level off air, but I want to get your immediate take because the story I'm going to tell you is like 20 minutes long, 40 minutes long. I'm only going to give you the snapshot of it. But before I get into that, I got to ask you, do you think that do you think that we have the ability to turn our dreams into actual reality?
Oh, wow. Boy, I'm about to tackle this one. That's like a two-phase answer. Okay.
Yeah.
The first answer is that certain practices, like let's say those Toltec practices and things, are actually involving making the dream body as cognitively aware as this body. In terms of right now, we have full cognitive perception. Okay. And when actually dreaming, being able to hold dream attention, okay, long enough to where you can actually operate out of the dream body, and then having techniques that actually makes the dream body as corporeal here, and our ability, for us, the ability to like bilocate and place our consciousness in the dream body to where you'd be looking at your physical body while it's sleeping. Okay. And they call that the double. So in that way, that's a way to manifest ourselves, the dream body itself. Now, when over there, slightly different, you know, it becomes a point of when you actually realize you're in the middle of a dream and ultimately seeing you're in the middle of phantasmagorical images that are created by electron impulse, and seeing what other inorganic generating life forms, beings are in your field of awareness that are hiding behind the phantasmagorical images of your dream.
Oh, wow.
So that's one thing. Now, let me take an answer to the second part of this, okay?
Yes, please.
And those are dream practices and crossing what's called the gates of dreaming, you know, which is basically ability to hold dream attention to where you have the ability to cognitively be solid there and have control over that body as well, the energy body. Now, the other thing that goes with what you're saying is what is called technology that specializes in targeted dream incubation. And what that is actually manipulating dreams, engineering dreams to where the dreams become memories and those memories become reality. And
Okay.
that's very serious, okay? And you've got people that are getting exposed to those type of directed energy weapons. It can be done by sound and other ways. So, I think, things they call, what is it, the Havana syndrome and things like that, but it's a little different. But that's
Okay.
technologies that's being used right now that you can see it on the internet to where they're actually tailoring the ads you see to what you're looking at and things. You wake up you want a cheeseburger because they're showing this to you or something. You know what I mean? That's minor, but they've got technology way more advanced than that when it comes to control targeted dream incubation. Now you like movies. You're around my age,
Yeah.
so go back to my probably favorite movie of all time. It's called Dreamscape with Dennis Quaid. Do you remember that?
I do remember it. I can't speak on it. It's fantastic. I do remember it, yes, but I can't recall all the movie. I saw it again a long time ago. Yes.
Mhm. And you got Max von Sydow. Not only was he
Yeah.
the Exorcist, and he was Ming the Merciless and Flash Gordon, but he played Dr. Novotny on that movie Dreamscape, and he was actually testing Dennis Quaid and other psychics for
Yeah.
this, for their abilities. You look at who he really was playing was Ingo Swann. That's what Ingo Swann used to do. Him being the remote viewer of creator and all that is something else, but he was also a parapsychologist as well. He
Okay.
was testing people at one of the universities like that.
Wow.
Just like that, just throw out food for thought,
No, that's again. Thanks for reminding. I have to go back and rewatch it. I got something I got to tell you, and it's a long story, but I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest version of it. But I gotta let my dog out right quick, so I'm gonna give you 90 seconds because he's really good about it. Hey, buddy. 90 seconds. I'll be back. If you want to, in my absence, briefly tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on, any conferences, your YouTube channel, Patreon. Promote yourself a little bit. I'll be back. It's not going to be but 60 seconds. He's a good dog. I'll be back in a second.
He leaves me hanging. You can find me, Barry Littleton, on YouTube. My email is barrylittleton13, barrylittleton13 @gmail.com. I got that sorted out, so I respond to people that are looking for sessions and stuff like that. I'm also on Patreon. I probably won't do much more on there. Maybe some lives. Don't have much more information to put on there. So YouTube is kind of where you can get a lot of the stuff I'm doing at right now. If you go to YouTube, hit the playlist and check out all the playlists. There's probably 350 videos on there. That's probably the main stuff. My website is barrylittleton.com, but I never get on there. I need to really get on the game on that. Kind of looking through the comments. Yes, Dreamscape is a great movie. I recommend everyone check it out.
Barry Littleton on YouTube. It's simply Barry Littleton on YouTube. And what's Patreon? If I want to subscribe to your Patreon, what's that under? Barry Littleton as well on Patreon?
Yeah.
You keep it nice and simple.
Great handles, right?
Well, they're great handles, but I tell you what, Barry's got great stuff on the pay for Patreon and for free on YouTube. And Barry put out his first live the other day, which encompassed a lot of things similar to what we have talked about today. Fantastic show as always with you, Barry. And
Nice.
I gotta say, since I got you here, there's something I want to talk to you personally. Like you talked to me about my encounter last year, gave me great advice on that, and I want something maybe off the air, but later we can get talk on the phone or whatever. But I do want to run this by you because it's something that's really bothered me. And I actually, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I actually went on YouTube and told everybody on the show. If people haven't seen it, it's in the archives. I went live and I talked about this nightmare I had, Barry. And the reason I asked you about can we manifest our own dreams is because I don't know what exactly happened to me in this dream. Now, as you probably are aware, I get a lot of weird dreams. And my dreams are always I'm always lost. I'm in a familiar area and I always get lost. And then all of a sudden, the familiar area turns to darkness and I get very scared. And then I hear my father that has passed away try to get me out of the dream, try to find my way out of being lost. And my brother, who's alive, I hear his voice, and I always wake up, and I always have the same dreams over and over again. They repeat themselves. I have part one and part two dreams, but my dreams are vivid. Most people forget their dreams, from my understanding. I do not. I do not. And the last one I had was about 4 months ago. I woke up in a cold sweat. I went on YouTube because I had to expound this. I feel the best therapy for me when I'm going through something that bugs me is to speak it out. At 4 o'clock in the morning when this happened, Barry, I had no one to talk to. I went on YouTube. It was about 4 a.m. I have this dream. I'm at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. The Flamingo Hotel. The Flamingo. I've been going there for 20 years. I'm familiar with everything with the Flamingo, my man. Yes, they've even remodeled it. They've even remodeled it several times. I've been there enough times where I know and I play poker. I play Texas Hold'em. I know a lot of the same dealers. They know me by Rob. I know some of the locals. I know a lot of the bartenders, right? So in the dream, yeah, I've been going for a while.
Bro, I'll be kicking it.
I got to tell you what, though. People watching, I bet you I've ran into aliens in Las Vegas, man. That's another story. So I'm playing poker, Texas Hold'em. And again, everybody, it's a long story. I'm I'm editing a lot of this. I'm playing Texas Hold'em, and somebody comes up to the table, in the dream, very creepy man, creepy looking man. In my dream, I said, "Man, there's something not right about him." I get dealt my hand. There's when you play Texas Hold'em, there's 9 people at the table, and I make a couple bets. A couple people fold. This creepy guy doesn't. I know, Barry, that what I have in my hand and what's on, you get two cards down, and then you get 2 cards dealt face down, and then there ends up being another 5 community cards, of which you can use 3 of the 5 for 5 for your hand, so you can use any of the combinations. And I'm pretty good with the combinations. I know if I have something, if I'm going to win or not. And I had 2 deuces, 2 twos, and on the board was 2 twos. So I have 4 twos, and there's 2 sixes. And I know that the creepy guy, and I are the only guys left, everyone folded. I know that the odds of him having pocket sixes is 95% he don't have them. We turn over the cards, and sure enough, he beat me with 4 sixes, and I had 4 twos. Fine. Crazy luck. I get up to shake the guy's hand. Hand's very cold. He's a very creepy guy. I leave the poker table. I'm out. Lost my money in the dream. I'm walking down a very familiar runway in the Flamingo. Then all of a sudden, the runway turns dark. It becomes unfamiliar. I start to get scared in the dream. I feel a presence in back of me. It's creepy guy that beat me playing cards. He puts his hand on my shoulder. How did you knew that I had you? Why did you play? And I'm thinking in my head, I don't know. Benny jumps in front of me, Barry. He goes, I will guide you out of here because I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at. I'll guide you out of here. He grabs my hand. My father's been deceased 7 years. The grip on my hand in this dream, and I can physically feel it. This creepy dude morphs into my father. My father's passed on. Robbie, I'll get you to safety. He starts pulling me. He's pulling me, Barry. And he says, I'm not your dad. I tricked you. I'm pulling you to the lake of fire. He's pulling me down, Barry, and the lake of fire, I can see flames. I see it's demonic imagery in my head. I snap out of it, man. I wake up, cold sweat. I can't get back to sleep. Before I go and do the YouTube show, I go back to bed. And I fall again into this deep sleep. And you know, Barry, the same dream replays itself, just like I said previously. I'm walking the halls. This time, it's not my deceased father that helps me out of this morbid, creepy corridor where I don't know where I'm at. It's my mom. Says the same thing. I'll lead you out of here. Tricked you again. You're very gullible. You must be a poor poker player, this creepy guy says to me. Taking me to the lake.
sorry. That's it.
Dude, no, that's okay. But this is how vivid it is. I remember this. And again, everybody listening, hey Barry, this is a 40-minute scenario. Okay, I'm giving you just the unabridged version, just to get on with this for everybody. I don't want to drag it out. Gates of fire. I wake up finally the second from this dream, and you know, Barry, when I woke up, the bottom of my feet was on fire, red, hurting, and I had 2 blisters, almost like I was teetering on the lake of fire. I get a phone call because my brother and sister-in-law are in Las Vegas during my dream. They happen to be in their bedroom at night in Vegas, and they happen to catch my live impromptu, and they're watching me, and they both got kind of scared. And you know what? They were about a half a mile from the Flamingo. They went, Barry, from their room to the Flamingo because they know where I go, and they went to the card hall where they know I play to investigate and to look and just they were just, oh my God, Rob, you're not here, are you? They called me on the phone. Where are you? I'm at home. We just saw you on your live show. We know you're home. We're at the Flamingo. And my sister Karen's taking these pictures, just random pictures. And she goes, Rob, I got to tell you something. You're freaking us out right now. I go, why is that, Karen? One of the poker dealers came up to me and Dave, my brother, and said, hey, to my brother, because I look kind of like my brother. He goes, do you have a relative or a brother that plays poker here? I must have just seen him about an hour ago. A guy that looked like me during my dream was playing poker in that room where I was at. And the guy thought that I was there. My brother and Karen says, no, he's not here. And the guy says, man, there's a dude that looks like you. So this is live. This is for real in Vegas. And the guy points me out or suggested he saw somebody who looked like almost like my brother, thinking it was perhaps me. A couple minutes later, barmaid that knows me real well says, hey, was Rob just here? I just seen him playing poker with some dude and left. Says my name now, Barry. Points out my name, says I was there. And I was dreaming all of this. I go, oh my. So, that's the gist of the story. One person says the guy who looked like me was playing poker, and a girl that knows me, a barmaid, asked where I was and saw me playing poker and told my brother, because that's how well known I am at this place. I dreamt that. So I got lucky. My brother and Karen saw it on the YouTube video I was doing live right after my dream. I had blister on my foot, man, during the heat heat from the fire when I was supposedly going to the pit. I don't know what that is. Talked to several people that analyze dreams. Thank you for your help. That to me, and I get all these dreams.
Did you get the answers you were looking from these people?
Not right now. They don't have answers, Barry. Nothing that satisfies my palate. What's
Isn't
your
that
take on that? What's your take
Everybody,
on that?
you gotta remember, right now we live in the era that everyone is an expert on everything because the internet has seen to that. Anyway, okay, a few things. Okay, let's start off with one problem. Okay, first of all, you've got these, I just mentioned earlier, different beings that are energy generating beings that hide in the phantasmagorical images of our dreams.
Right.
One type of these beings, the less aggressive type, show up in our dreams as weird objects and things that don't fit in. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, for example, when I actually passed that gate, I went home, I cleaned my apartment. I go home after like a 12-hour shift, and I'm so proud to go home to clean an apartment. And I get in there, I'm looking around doing my thing, but I take a shower, and I'm so proud of this first Ming generation, first dynasty vase that's on my glass table. And, I get done, do the shower and stuff. I stand out there, man, this is great. And so looking at that thing, and man, that thing, it looks great. That thing is worth millions of dollars. I ain't got no secure system on this apartment. What the hell? Start figuring out that the thing was misplaced. It was an odd object. Then if you can start putting a gaze on it, shift your dream attention to it, it turned into a ball of like yellow orange light and went through the wall. Now, if I was a trained, skilled dreamer, I could have just followed it.
Okay.
And it takes you through other worlds, maybe to the world of the inorganic beings. Who knows? But that's dangerous. You get lost. Anyway, point being, that's the first type of, sorry, that was way too long of an explanation. That's the
Sure.
first type of inorganic being that shows up in our dream. The others, the more dangerous ones, show up as people we know, and usually loved ones. And they're always doing something effed up, man. Excuse my language, but it's true. It's things that you say, why would my mom do that? Why would my dad do that? My sister do that to me. They're trying to get those energy going. Everybody likes to call loose now, but they're trying to get that going so they can feed on you. And those are the worst ones, okay? And that's what sounds like you're describing to me. And might I say something else before we go even deeper? Well, I want to go. Hold that, because I want to go back to that, all right? But I'm not finished answering your questions about that. But I want to go back to that, about this negative inorganic beings and how I think you're somewhat plagued by them, my friend. Don't take that the wrong way, but I think you might have an issue with them. You described too many things that's happened to you, and we'll go into that in a minute. The other part of your dream is that I mentioned before, bringing the full cognitive ability, full dream attention into the dream body. And the really, really skillful people that can do that, okay, have the ability eventually to also manifest the dream body. Now, I'm going to tell you something, okay? And I'm not talking, I have a lot of stuff talking to me I don't talk about publicly, even on the videos. I practice all these dream gates, okay, when I was younger. And I'm what you call a gatherer or a stalker. I can do a lot of things in this dimension with my perception and stuff, but it takes a lot of it. And when I go dream, I don't dream that lucidly. I don't hold that much dream attention. I have to live a certain way here in the third dimension so that I can start gathering enough free energy for personal power to have dream attention. You're a natural dreamer, okay? It means that's your gift. You're able to hold dream attention naturally without anything. Okay, now what I did when I actually crossed these 4 gates of dreaming, I didn't fully read the end of what it's supposed to really do. Okay, I was doing other stuff, tripped out, man. You know, but thing is this: what happened to me is I worked in a bowling alley for like 2 nights a week all the way through college. All right, 2-3 nights a week, and this one shift on a Sunday, just these guys at the counter. This brother came in. He was mad. He was going to jump over the counter and beat him down. And this other stuff went down. I just noticed everybody was responding to me very good this night. Okay, and what happened was it was an afternoon shift, and I don't sleep good. And probably about 1:30, 2 o'clock, I had to be in at 5. I laid down for just a minute. So I laid down for like 45 minutes, an hour. All right, and I woke up late and barely got to work on time. All right. Anyway, during this whole night, everything goes good. I decided not go down. There was a bar that was attached to the bowling alley. I decided not go down there and have a beer. I just went home. All right. And as I'm going home, I'm driving down this 32nd Street. And I'm drinking my drink, and I kind of strangled on my drink. Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
I start coughing, and when I put and I cough and I come up in my bed. Okay. I'm looking around. What the hell? I never went to work. I overslept. I mean, this was not some sort of weird deal. I mean, I dreamt that I went to work. And oddly enough, in the days of the machine, no one left a phone number for a message on my message machine. We still had those back then. But I was like, okay, obviously they just wait me to come in, so I go ahead and get fired. I didn't show up for a shift. They know they're going to fire me. I go in the next day. And when I walk in around the corner, the two guys that work Monday night too, they're talking about this brother that tried to beat him down. And they said, you remember what the hell he's doing that? Yada, 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 right, Barry? And I was like, oh, yeah. Time clocked in and out. I was there.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm telling you is my dream body went to work and performed that whole shift. And I had no idea. And after it would happen, it was getting like that a lot. I mean, it's hard to even like, did that really happened? See what I'm saying? It was, so what you're saying is quite similar to that. And it's something you have the natural ability to do, I believe. You projected your dream body, and it was in there gambling, and it was corporeal enough that it's holding things, touching things. That's the end thing of going through these dream gates. That was the end product, but I didn't know that. I was just at the place where you're actually looking to see it yourself dreaming. You see yourself dreaming laying in the bed. That's like the fourth gate. All right. But the one after that is actually bringing the dream body over here from that side. So that's what that's going to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What's up?
You're saying my dream body was actually at the Flamingo playing cards.
They saw
happened.
That happened.
People
saw it. Unless you got a doppelganger that came from the other side. But I doubt it, man, because you remember halfway doing it. But let's talk about something else, man. All right.
Yeah.
I sent you a picture just before we had our horrible technical deal. Did you happen to download that you can show it?
I didn't. I did not. I can. Yeah.
And there's a reason I'm gonna bring this up to you.
Okay, hang on.
I don't want to seem like the bearer of bad news or anything like that, but I just want you to be aware of some things. And I think focus on maybe.
Let me do this really quick. Yeah, I'm still here, Barry. Just bear with me. I'm gonna. Just give me a second or two here. I gotta just going through here. Don't mind me, everybody. I'm just pulling up this thing that Barry sent me. This picture. Okay, I got it downloaded. Let's see now. Okay. When I'm back here, and I just gotta find it in here real briefly. Thanks to everybody for coming on in. Appreciate y'all. Thanks to the super chats becoming members tonight.
I'm seeing something interesting. NASA released 240-million-year-old organism to the atmosphere that discovered. Actually, I've done a video. It's called Virus Origins. I've probably released it publicly. There's been a war going on between sentient microorganisms, space organisms, and Earth for a long time. Humanity, going out there, and when you look at things like Project Project project. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, it's where you can actually look online. They got that collodion bucket and picked up a bunch of those microorganisms from a bunch of samples from space and dropped it down here. And you can get on there and look at to see if you can get a dust track or something that'll name it after you. And that so that these things like that, that's war. If you're dealing with a sentient on the collective level species in space, and that's like going to Australia, you swip out about 1 million people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
They're gonna, that's war. And you've got these microorganisms that attach to asteroids and meteors, and they come in here. Inside the meteors, they come in here, and then what they do is they start creating, when they get out, these type of prion diseases that just seem to come from nowhere. Years ago, when I talked about mad deer disease, people laughed at me. I said, you got to watch these ones that might be zoonotic, that can communicate between species. Okay. And you've also got the red rain, these things that happen that is part of that war. That's very, very serious. And check out what satellite Bennu was doing, going out and collecting samples from asteroids and coming back and dropping it. That's something to be aware of. Going back to that picture, okay, what you were.
Yeah, I gotta download it. Hey, I gotta download it right here. Here it is.
There you go. Okay, check this out. So I've been dealing with Spirit will push me ways, and I ran into ex-client that was thanking me for helping him with voices when he was a member of my facility in 2000. And I kind of forgot about how many kids heard voices, and I used to talk to him about it. So it was a psychiatric residential facility type of a deal. So you could talk to them and they'll tell you about it. Ask them a bunch of questions about them. Always negative stuff, these voices. And as he had said, you're the first person to tell me I wasn't crazy, that the voices were external. And then that led me. So I made a video about it. It was on Patreon only. And people started staring me, this gentleman, Jerry Marzinski. And he's absolutely genius, man. He's dealing with the voices a lot and a much deeper than what I did. He's in psychiatric adult. And he did a lot for years. But the stuff he's saying is exact same stuff I found. Okay? That can't be a coincidence, these patterns. Now, when you start dealing with the schizophrenics that hear these voices, and some of the voices are from negative identities, also the negative self, and you've got these external forces that are doing these voices too. Just adding fuel to the fire, okay? That hate when you say positive things or loving things or even some things that are like scriptural things. They get really upset, Now, the reason why I brought this up here, this being is called Yal. I think I'm sorry, I don't do so good with the dark stuff, man. Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth, I believe. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, Rob, is that when you start dealing with, there have been a few schizophrenics that hear voices when they go through some types of energy therapy and they get rid of the voices or get them to subside. They start describing seeing this thing, this serpent, and the visual they're seeing a serpent with a lion's head. And I've heard 2 people now say that they saw this when they're trying to get rid of the voices, and then that lion's head turns into a human face and then into some type of a demon, how it morphs face itself. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to you, because the way they described the morphing of the face was nearly identical to the way you described that quote unquote Sasquatch thing you saw.
Oh, no kidding. I thought this
and I've heard you say that you said now for a lot you felt it might have been demonic.
Yes, correct.
You got an individual that sounds somewhat demonic coming in the bar, hanging out.
Yep.
Then you've got some sort of negative inorganic beings harassing you in your dream. So that there is, it's some sort of an ancient negative being. But what this thing is known to do is trap people in their bodies, even after death, amongst other things. I can only read so much negative stuff. I've got anybody interested. I've got on my playlist a negative inorganic being playlist. It's got probably 30 some videos on there that goes in depth about their strategies and what I know about them. Okay, but I don't like dealing with the dark stuff a whole lot.
Right.
Actually, I'm here again. I'm fully against it. I don't like it, and right now it's an issue down here. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out. So maybe doing some extra protections, bro, and just making sure you're good, man. Because those things, it's very common. They roam around down here. All that negative beings, shadow beings, inorganic beings, demonic.
Yeah.
They roam around down here with Earthbounds like it ain't nothing. That's what this
Well,
place is.
I just wonder where I get all these things from. I mean, the weirdness that I experience, because I've had you probably heard, maybe you have, but I seen shadow people in my mid 20s when I was married. That I brought home. I know I brought home something from an antique store that I was told was haunted or possessed by something that I brought into the house. I would see shadow people, Barry,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of the extreme darkness where there was the darkness superseded darkness. I had a room in my house where it was pitch black. I had blackening shades and you could not see anything in there. And I was in there and I seen this humanoid figure come out darker than the darkness. I won't get into that today. I've talked about that. I'm not talking about me. And I got to tell you, and
beings that come from darkness, though, we're so focused on the fallen ones, the falling angels.
yes,
you have those beings that come from darkness. They originate from that. Okay. And that's what you're describing there to a degree, definitely, and by the feeling you get from these beings too. And, like the voices never say them. They're never calling those people angels. They're
and
telling
man,
those people to kill themselves,
yeah,
hurt themselves. They're no good. Negative, negative, negative. To give you those negative identities, support that negative self.
well, let me
rob us of our perceptual power as aware beings, beings of awareness. Excuse me.
and I gotta tell you something. No, you're fine. And I gotta tell you, man. You're mentioning this negative, negative, negative. I will tell you. This started happening to me about 2 years into the marriage, right? And we had a great marriage, going happy, positive. We both had good careers going. But we were starting collecting all these artifacts, these trinkets from all over. And we saved them. Then we put them in it. We finally built a room, made a room, got curio cabinets. Then we started placing them in there. Is when, before even the shadow person, the dark shadows appeared, all of a sudden, within a few days after this, Barry, negative energy, she started doing bad at work all of a sudden. A friend of ours committed suicide. Okay. My job was kind of struggling and everything. It seemed like a negative energy, low vibration set upon us. We were kind of irritated with each other all the time. And then I seen the darkness. And then, and I wanted to tell my wife so bad, but again, we had negative vibes going on, and I don't think I was crazy until one day I said, "Look, honey, I got to tell you something." I told her, and she says, "Oh my God, Rob, I've been seeing the same thing." And we were seeing shadow people out of the corner of our eyes during daytime in the house, man. Again, got rid of the stuff, put it in my garage. We had a person come over and said the bad energy is coming from this room. Where'd you get these objects from? We told her, again, condensing the story, Barry. I took them all out. I didn't really believe this woman. I wasn't really into the paranormal at this time. I was 26 years old. I take all this stuff, put it in boxes. We spend money on this, I'm telling the wife, right? Throw it all in the box in the shed or in the garage. Once it was removed from the house, everything seemed to get back to normal. The shadow people were gone. The negative vibe was gone. Until spring, I go in the garage, do spring cleaning. Back wall, in the corner are the objects. It's kind of dark in the garage, but you can still see in. Daylight was coming over the back of the garage, so it kind of illuminated a little bit.
You got an idiot in that chat there, man. You got an idiot over there. Cryus Phoenix, you can suck it, man. Prove it. I say you're dark. I say you're with Satan. Get off the religious, foolish stuff. Prove it. Prove I'm with Satan in any way. I've done more work with the light and the creator that you can touch. You see, these people come out of the woodwork, these dark people trying to accuse people of these things. You see, I've already given more information than you're giving anywhere, brother. Don't start that crap. I'll go to war with you, straight up. Come on. Don't play that dark stuff, Satan stuff with me. Straight up. Sorry, go ahead, man. That's why I don't look at the chat very much, because I don't like getting involved with these stupid fools like that. Because they couldn't in person go one round with me in person, definitely.
Yeah, I can't. I didn't see the chat. I was telling that story and I didn't see it. Chris, I guess Chris Phoenix.
Call me a Satanist, you idiot.
I've known Barry for many years.
Stupid. That's so stupid. I just could not say nothing, man. That's why I don't look over there.
Barry, that's fine.
Ahead, go back to the story, man.
I've known you a long time, Barry. It's definitely not Satanist.
Yeah, I'll take a lot. I'll take a lot, man. But I would not be called a Satanist or some cat like that. There's no way, man. Not after what I've dealt with and the wars I've dealt with against dark forces. I'll be damned if I'll take that from some coward who's hiding in the chat.
Well, I just banned him and removed him from the chat. He's done.
Man. I appreciate that.
And you're my friend. Nobody criticizes my guests.
I'll take
anyway, I tell you what, Chris Phoenix,
a B, any of those things, but not the same. I will
Chris
take that
Phoenix is actually Chris Phoenix is a pirate member. I noticed, but you know what? You're my friend, and that I don't allow that. So see you later, dude. And
sorry, I should have said anything. That would just.
I'm going to ban Chris from the Blondes and the Booze and everybody else I'm associated with as well. So with that being said,
sorry, but you were saying a story, and I shouldn't have interrupted.
Oh yeah, so I Oh boy, where was I? So anyway, I removed the things. Yeah, blah blah blah. Then guess what happens in the garage? That dark shadow came back, man, and I'm yelling out to my wife, "Get your ass out here!" They've come back. They're in the garage. Well, they really didn't come back, Barry, because I moved them from one location to another. That's where it was, and then I said, "Man, we're getting rid of this stuff." So I took all the stuff up. I put in my truck. We had a local dump at the time where I lived, and so I dumped it. Probably not the best idea what I know today, Barry. I would have done something differently. But as a 26-year-old kid, kind of scared, seeing these crazy, creepy things again. Yeah. So again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I've had all sorts of creepy, scary encounters. I've seen that Bigfoot demonic thing once in my life, but I've had paranormal activity follow me from 5. I saw a UFO at 5. At the bar throughout my life, and you made up a great point, from 5 to present day. And I just often wonder if I'm trapped or if I'm marked by something that's I don't want to get into this.
It could be, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it could be generational too. It may not be of your doing, man. It could be generational. We get it. That's one of the unfair things when we incarnate here. It's not just that we have our own trauma and things we got to go through, our own darkness. But we've got that our ancestors do that stick to us and travel with us through generations. And so it could be that too. You know what I mean? That somebody, the grandfather or somebody that was great was actually working with some dark entities or something, and it's something that's following your bloodline a little bit. Doesn't mean you're dark or anything. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things that needs to be one of those things that can be addressed though. Food for thought on that again, but I don't think, that it's you, but it's just,
it was not me.
Generational curses, we can call it,
And again, that's another topic for another day, because I heard about where my Bigfoot, I told you this anyway, just bringing it up one more time, is in the part of the Manistee National Forest, 100 miles north of there. Generational curses from First Nations tribes. Food for thought, as you would say, where I found that demonic Bigfoot or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? So,
and that goes back. Remember, you found some things wrong with the land there. The last show I was on, you mentioned that.
Yes, I did.
That dark land type of a deal.
Dark land, a cursed land from way back in the 1900s.
Wow.
There are, in the Manistee National Forest, which is from the west coast to the east coast here in Michigan. It's funny I say coast because Lake Michigan, on the left, on the west, Huron on the right, and it's coastal, and the forest covers the west side of the state to the east, and it's humongous, our biggest forest. And there's cursed land throughout Manistee National Forest, Huron Park, all these areas, Barry. Certainly, it's not. I don't think it spreads to the entire forest because it's millions of acreage, right? But there are sections that's tainted. I do believe that today. And where I had my encounter, 100 miles north was tainted land. And in fact, there was a sacrifice that happened on the actual area in 1807, way back when there was a sacrificial ceremonies going on with tribes, right? And it just a lot of weird stuff, Bear. A lot of weird stuff.
Question: how old is that church where you was near the area? When the church you said or something like that there? The red church, or
it was a red barn,
Red barn. My fault. Red barn.
But that's but that was like nobody's barn. It's kind of weird because a lot of people commented. A couple people from Cadillac, Michigan, know exactly my location and told me exactly about the red barn. And the funny thing about that is, Barry, they're not so sure who, what, or why it's even there. It's not there's not a person that owns property around there that claims ownership to the red barn. Think about that one too. That's a little mystifying, to say the least. Who builds a barn doesn't claim ownership?
It's weird when you get to this place. I see like sacrifices or something weird.
Man, dude, I'm telling you,
that's what I keep picking up on. I'm trying to.
And then I've talked to people that suggest that the Bigfoot entity came from the barn through a portal from northern Michigan. Barry Manford, I've had so many different theories on that, but I got to apologize for Chris Phoenix. I took care of that. He's no longer part of my gig.
It's no problem. Thanks, man. I'm past it, man. I shouldn't have looked over. I just
caught that. I tell you, when Barry gets teed off and goes off on a show, I know somebody upset him. And to associate, hey, man, to associate with the demons and the devil, don't fly with me either, brother.
I've been called a lot of things, especially since I came forward, but that's a first there. That's a first.
Yeah, hey, man.
But, yeah, so, it's a matter of, right now on this planet, we've got both those organic and inorganic, negative, demonic type beings that move around down here. We've got demonic type people that incarnate just like you and I. And we've also got these things that are like echoes of the land, echoes of the past, like almost phantoms to a degree. And I mean, all that starts going into this soup of like negative stuff that is on this planet. And it's weird because I'm hoping that this is really the point that consciousness is turning and changing for this place to change. Maybe it won't be a utopia, but maybe we won't be so quick to say it's a prison planet, because until I start really doing a lot more of that work, I've always thought that's what this place is. Yep. This is a prison planet with lost souls trapped in a reincarnation cycle. And then, when I started doing some of the earlier videos I did, I stated that clearly. And then I started doing a bunch of the work, and it didn't hold up. It didn't hold up against the data. It is what it is. I had to change some of my views.
Yeah.
But this place is in trouble, and I'm hoping that something changes. Maybe we could get that bridge of the Enterprise, where you've got, people of different countries cooperating, and
Yeah, I gotta tell you what. We could talk for hours and hours and hours, and that's another subject too. But the people of the world today, Barry, demons. I don't know. I'm malevolent for sure, not malevolent, right? I mean, really. Our world today is. I tell you what, man. Don't want to get into it. Don't want to talk politics on the show, but today's life. I don't feel all that happy for children growing up that are 5, 6, 10 years old, because I have no idea where we're going to be in 50 years.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, man.
I agree. And right now we hear so many gloom and doom predictions. They're they're
Yeah.
they're, they're off the charts. They have been since I started really checking things out in the mid '80s. That's all I see is doom and gloom predictions. All the way going forward to what was the one that really burned me out? Oh man, I got burned out on Y2K. Oh man.
Oh man,
And nothing
yeah.
happened at all. I mean, that was a Art Bell. Everybody was going on about that
Well,
Y2K.
yeah.
And I mean, or you got, people like even Gordon Michael Scallion, his future maps deal. I mean, all these cataclysms, and naturally, with just the pole shift we're going through and natural environment changes, we're going
Yeah.
to encounter some of these natural cataclysms. There's no way around it,
Yeah.
So,
There's-
but it's like, man, we don't need to, harp it too much.
No,
Really a trip.
not too much either. And this show has been so great. And we've talked about a lot of cool things. I even forgot to ask you,
What's up?
which was when we were talking about crossing over the light, the dark. It didn't even lead into the follow up. I wanted to ask you is: do you think that these cryptid beings even have a soul?
Boy, that's a good question, man.
You know,
Boy, that's a good
aliens.
question.
I mean, I don't know, right? We
And
don't.
and I think when maybe when dealing with the extraterrestrial factions is a little different. I think you've got those obviously that aren't like us, have less spirit attainment than we have, and you've got those that are beyond us, definitely. I don't know if we fall somewhere in the middle or if we're so cheated out of what we really are that we have no idea the amount of our power, even more than what I've been describing on this show. So that's one big issue down here, definitely, and it's going to be a remaining problem here, man. But hopefully, we can see something better happening. I'm really hoping, man. But
Well, I am a fan of man, and I can only hope that humanity. I love humanity. I'm a fan of man. I love doing what I do. I love having you on. We have a great platform here, great guests, great people in chat, people that listen. All the followers are awesome, great people, and I think we all know kind of what's going on out in the world, and that's why I love this. I apologize for some idiot coming on in, but you know what? I took care of that, Barry.
it
But
happens, man. I should have
sometimes,
looked over there. I just happened to look at
Barry,
the wrong
hey,
time.
when Barry
Damn,
kind of,
that's all.
got, a little robust, I'm like, damn, Barry. And I'm looking,
I,
hey,
you know,
I
the,
got,
I'm all about the love, light, love that stuff, but I'm not that brother. You come at me wrong, I'm not gonna. Oh, love and light, brother.
yeah,
I'm not
right.
that
There
guy,
you
man.
go.
I have a sword. I'll pull it out. I get offended. I will cut. Just like the Highlander. How many cats come up on Duncan MacLeod thinking he was a punk? That cat was no
Right.
punk, man. He had a very sharp blade, and he was a great swordsman. And a lot of cats lost their head stepping to the Highlander. It's that simple.
Hey, man, you got that right. That's awesome. I like that.
somewhere out there, there's a Highlander fan that appreciated that statement.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure we talked to, Barry, it's funny. We talked about the Highlander 2 days ago on some other show I was on. I don't know, but that's again, great minds think alike. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube, Barry Littleton on YouTube, simply called Barry Littleton, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, and of course, Texas Front Porch. This was a great show, Barry. Perhaps we'll have you back around Christmas time or the holidays. I'll give you some time off. We went over 2 hours today and could have went for 2 more as I'm coming up with all sorts of other questions, but it's always fabulous when you come on, man. People
Well,
love
thanks
it.
for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I just organized my different playlists on my channel, and one of them is I did the remote viewing things with me and Jessica, and there was
Sure.
63 episodes, and I did my other interviews. It's just other stuff, and there's 105 of those. So I updated that, and there's
Oh, yeah.
about 40 of them I can't find that aren't on YouTube or anything like that.
Yeah,
But I mean that just kind of shocked me. It's that many. So and a lot of them are at least 6 or 7 of them on here. So thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. Thank
I'm
you for
honored.
that, Barry. Thanks everybody for coming on in. And thank you for the super chats. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the pirate memberships. You guys rock. And until next time, for Barry, I'm BMR, and we'll see you on the flip side.